What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today I am here to tell you all about a deck that we're not playing, that apparently we really should be. Now I say we should be, because this past weekend over in London there was the Energon Open, the big European Transformers trading card game tournament. And I got a message from the lovely Jonathan Pritchard basically telling me Drew Nolosco, who is the brand manager for Transformers, rocked up with two decks, one of which we've talked about, it was the Off-Road Patrol, and the other was an Ultra Magnus Jetfire deck. And he said he was surprised the community hadn't spotted it, and he wanted to promote the deck. Now, unfortunately, I don't have a full deck list, but I can tell you the basics of what it is, why it's cool, and why we all really need to start testing it. So Ultra Magnus then. What do we like about Ultra Magnus? I mean, to be honest, pretty much everything. Ultra Magnus is one of those characters we've been trying to make work since it came out. Now, it is a 12-star character, which is extremely expensive. And the stats reflect that. Health of 17, attack of 5 or 6, defense of 1. Okay, we don't like the defense, but everything else we do like. In bot mode, when it attacks and you flip at least 2 orange and 2 blue, you do 1 damage to each character, that is to say yours and your opponent's. Okay, big bot, big attack, big health, and lots of cheeky damage when you attack. Then in alt mode, you've got Brave, so enemies have to attack you if able. And before the game begins, you may put an Ultra Magnus armor from your deck onto this. So you're starting the game with Ultra Magnus armor. Ultra Magnus armor, for those that may have forgotten, is the only 2-star card we've actually seen so far. And it has both an orange and a blue icon, which is great for trying to get Ultra Magnus's bot mode skill working. It can only be put onto Autobots. And if the upgraded character would take non-attack damage, instead it takes that much damage -1. Now that's beautiful, because now when Ultra Magnus is attacking, if it hits a double orange, double blue, it does 1 damage to each character other than Ultra Magnus armor. Plus it gives you +2 attack and +2 defense, so now in bot mode you're rocking 8 attack, 17 health, 3 defense, and when you attack you're hopefully doing 1 damage to everybody but yourself. That is absolutely worth having a play around with. So what's the problem with Ultra Magnus? Well, the problem very simply is we play a lot of armor removal at the moment. One card which is exceedingly popular is Bashing Shield. Bashing Shield is an upgrade armor, and when you put it onto a character, you scrap an enemy armor. Now, the problem is it's also got a green icon, which means if your opponent wants it, they're going to draw into it. Even if your opponent is playing 3 copies of Vaporize, you can cross your fingers that they all get flipped when your opponent is attacking or defending. They never end up drawing into one, so they never get rid of your armor. That is a possibility. You can cross your fingers and hope for it. But the problem is, when it comes to Bashing Shield, it's got a green icon. If your opponent flips it while they're attacking or defending, at the end of the battle they can swap a card in their hand for it, guarantee they've got Bashing Shield, guaranteed to get rid of Ultra Magnus armor, and frankly, right, it is 2 stars in your deck. It gives you +2 attack, +2 defense, and stops you taking recoil damage from your own skill. Ultra Magnus armor is very, very important if you're going to be making the best use of Ultra Magnus. Okay, I think we've gotten that now. So what are we going to do about this? Now there is a card that I revealed, so I've got a natural soft spot for. That is Reclaim. Put an upgrade from your scrap pile on top of your deck. Now if you're playing Devastator and your tower is 3 or higher, you then get to draw it, but that's not the case here. You could do that, but that seems a little bit roundabout. No, ladies and gentlemen, what you do is you use Jetfire. When you flip Jetfire into bot mode, put an armor or utility from your scrap pile onto this character. Now that is absolutely wonderful. Because you see, you start in alt mode, which means what you can do for Jetfire if you so wish is leave it in alt mode, until your opponent gets rid of Ultra Magnus armor, and then when they get rid of Ultra Magnus armor, you can immediately, next turn, use your transform for the turn to transform Jetfire into bot mode, and immediately get Ultra Magnus armor onto Jetfire. And now Jetfire becomes a 6 attack, 3 defense, 15 health character, and that is nothing to be sniffed at, ladies and gentlemen. That's really good. There's a lot of beef going on there. You can, if you want, then flick back into alt mode, and you've got bold 1 as well, and you get the extra attacks, then you're 7 attack, 15 health, 3 defense, bold 1. And then, of course, when you're in alt mode, which you really should be, wait for Ultra Magnus armor to get removed again, then flick back into bot mode. Really, you want to keep Jetfire in alt mode, because there's no reason to be in bot mode. In bot mode, you lose the fact that you're a plane, you lose 1 attack, and the only thing you gain in bot mode is a skill that activates when you flip to bot mode. So really, Jetfire you want to keep in alt mode, and then as soon as you need Ultra Magnus armor back, you flick into bot mode. And that guarantees that you always have access to Ultra Magnus armor. You don't need to find it from your deck. Ultra Magnus will make sure you've always got it at the beginning of the turn, and the second it gets scrapped, back comes Jetfire to recover it. Now, of course, Jetfire can get the armor back onto Jetfire, but you might want to get the armor onto Ultra Magnus. It is Ultra Magnus armor after all. That's where Quartermaster comes in. Now, no swap parts, unfortunately. Swap parts has very much been banned, so you use Quartermaster. Now, it's not as good as swap parts, let's be clear about that, but it does let you move 1 upgrade from one of your characters to another. So you can use Jetfire to get the armor back, and then play Quartermaster to move it over onto Ultra Magnus. You don't need to move it back onto Ultra Magnus. Jetfire can use the armor, and Jetfire is pretty gosh darn beastly when it has the armor. But if you do want to get it onto Ultra Magnus, that's the way you're going to go about doing so. And the only way it should ever stay in your scrap pile is if you flick to bot mode to recover it, and then your opponent gets rid of it, and you cannot flick to alt mode then back to bot mode fast enough. Although, don't forget, you can always play stuff like rollout and rapid conversion to make this work. And as a side note, I really think you should be using rollout here, because you need double orange, double blue to get Major Ultra Magnus's skill rolling. So you need to be playing as many orange/blue cards as you can, and rollout is one of the best. As a side note, you should also be playing Matrix of Leadership. Major Ultra Magnus is a leader, and Matrix of Leadership is a utility, so you can have it on there as well as Ultra Magnus armor, and you get +1 attack, and then your Jetfire gets +1 attack and PS1. So frankly, yes, you should definitely be playing this. Now, in terms of the star count of the deck, unfortunately, you've not got much wiggle room here. Jetfire is a 10 cost, Ultra Magnus is a 12 cost, Ultra Magnus armor is 2 stars. The 3 of them together add up to 24 stars. You do not have a lot of wiggle room with this deck. You do have 1 star remaining, and although you can use whichever star card you want, I'm kind of leaning towards Fuel Cache, because it's got a white, an orange, and a blue icon, and we do, like I've said, we want orange and blue icons, and we really do want to mix here to try and get Major Ultra Magnus's ability firing. Plus, you get a white icon here that lets you flip 2 extra cards, and Fuel Cache, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck if they include a white, orange, and blue. Put them all in your hand, otherwise scrap them. And I really like the idea of just being able to gain extra cards. Now, the other option I think which is really strong here is Heroic Team Up. Gives you an orange and a blue icon as well, and I think you really do want that from your star card here. Lets you tap one of your untapped Autobots and add its attack total to one of your untapped Autobots until end of turn. So you can essentially play this to tap, say, Jetfire, and just allow Major Ultra Magnus to have a huge attack, or I suppose tap Major Ultra Magnus. It's going to be the same regardless, alright? It doesn't really matter, because it's going to be the same attack, just adding them 2 together. So I like this as a kind of game-ending attack. I don't like if you're playing a 2-wide deck, and then you're tapping one of those 2, That seems to put you at a bit of a disadvantage. So I like this, but only really as an end-of-game deck. Personally, I'd go Fuel Cache, but I would understand why you'd go Heroic Team Up. And then I think what you really need to do is just focus on a mixture of orange and blue, Matrix of Leadership and roll out the only free ones you're getting here with the orange and blue, and I think you need to take advantage of those. And just roll with it. Now, being a leader, you've already got the Matrix of Leadership. With one being a truck and one being a plane, I'm not a huge fan of trying to go faction-specific here. But you are both range characters in both modes, so I do think it is worth having a bit of a play around with them. I am a huge fan of Armed Hovercraft here. Gives you a blue icon plus 1 attack, and when you put it on a range character, you do 1 damage to each enemy. Your armor slot is taken, and your utility for Ultra Magnus, you really want Matrix of Leadership. But this will work just nicely here as well. I say Matrix of Leadership, but let's not forget Energy Pack here. Another card that I was lucky enough to be able to reveal, which, if you've got 11 stars or more, it gives you plus 4 health. It's not going to do anything for Jetfire, but it absolutely will help Major Ultra Magnus, and I mean, just one of them will put him up to a 21 health character. That's pretty nice here. I do like that. Of course, then you run into the awkward situation that you've got Matrix of Leadership, which only works for Ultra Magnus, and Energy Pack, which only works for Ultra Magnus, so pinch of salt there. And of course, Marksmanship is a card that a lot of people are using with ranged characters at the moment, because you get to put down some extra cheeky damage. Just make sure you've got a mixture of orange and blues. Take advantage of the doubles where you can, and this can work. There's a lot of different ways to take the deck, but the core of the deck, Ultra Magnus, Jetfire, Ultra Magnus Armor, and unless your opponent can get rid of it turn after turn after turn, keeping Jetfire in ult mode and using it to recover when it gets taken away should mean that you've got Ultra Magnus Armor for the majority of the game, and it is one of the very, very best upgrades in the entire game. Also, before we finish, a quick shout out to Defensive Driving here. It's got a white icon, and you are going to need some of them in your deck. It is an armor, so it's got to be put on the character that doesn't have Ultra Magnus armor. If the upgraded character would take non-attack damage from an opponent's card, instead the upgraded character takes that much damage -1. So if you've got Ultra Magnus armor on one character and Defensive Driving on the other, then if Ultra Magnus's ability does fire, they're both going to be protected. I like this deck, and it is definitely one that I'm going to be having a play with. But I'd like to know if you're excited to have a play with it, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk about games like Transformers. And do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, etc. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.